Okay, good morning, everyone. We have just started the broadcast. We're going to let all the participants start to come in. I'm Scott Lee. I'll be helping Ray Caputo moderate today, and we'll get started in just another minute or two as participants continue to join. So please stand by for a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Okay, good morning again. People are still gradually coming. We have a few attendees here. We're fortunate enough today to have North Avenue join us again. Avenza, and new to the group is SEIC, and they're going to be and John's going to be talking about their rugged app store, which is fantastic. A fantastic opportunity for the federal government to plug in and get some applications. Again, I'm Scott Lee, and I'll be helping Ray moderate the dialogue today. You see the agenda on your screen. I wanted to quickly turn it over to Ray, and we'll get started.
Good morning, everybody. Glad to see folks here at the meeting. This is the annual U.S. government geospatial PDF working group meeting. This goes back a good number of years. I'm trying to remember the first time we did this, but that seems to be escaping me at the moment here. But it's been an August tradition to do this here. So welcome. Once again, obviously we're doing this virtually. As I said last year, I hope that next year is an in-person meeting due to the uncertainty of the times when we started to put this meeting together and secure the room we would need, things like that. It just seemed it was a better option just to do virtual, a full virtual meeting. Obviously, moving forward, even the in-person meetings will have a virtual component so that people around the world can join in and see us here. We have had one change to the agenda at the last minute for personal reasons. Ariel from the USGS is unable to make the meeting this morning. We will certainly talk with Ariel and get her back again into the meeting to show what they're doing there. But if we have time towards the end, based on the agenda we have today, I'm going to look at maybe throwing up the website that she was going to talk about, where you can go in and create your own geospatial PDFs based on your own AOI there. So we'll see how that goes there. As we are virtual, I don't need to do the emergency exits and bathroom directions. I would hope that wherever you are, you know where the exits and the bathrooms are. If you don't, maybe you should take a minute or two to figure that one out for yourself, not only for today, but for moving forward. Typically, when we do an in-person meeting, we try to do some kind of an introduction who was there. It's difficult to do that in a virtual environment as everybody kind of speaks over themselves. But if we look at the participation list, we can see names of folks, and eventually we'll get out information to everybody who was in the meeting as to who was in the meeting, and where they were from, contact information, things like that, so that we can speak amongst ourselves as to those who were in the meeting itself. Trying to think what else we got going here. You see by the agenda that we're going to have North Avenue speak about their viewing package called Memento, Avenza Systems, and Terrago. Once again, the mainstays of the agenda every year. We'll give an overall update to the company, the products, moving forward, whatever it is that they want to tell us there about how those two big players are moving along. SAIC has an app store that they're setting up because of NGA pulling out of their app store. So John will speak to that. I think that'll be interesting to everybody in the community. Not sure I have much more to go on this here, but I'm hoping everybody's having a relatively good summer and staying safe there. Scott, I think I'll turn it over to you.
Sure.
Do we have to make a change here on the agenda, as Patrick seems to be having some issues getting in?
Patrick has made it in. Patrick, can I get an audio?
Oh, he is.
Can you please?
Yeah, I'm in. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, got you loud and clear. Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Very good.
Very good. Very good, Patrick.
Awesome.
I was worried about you this morning, but I'm not anymore, so I can relax. Thank you.
So we do want to make this as interactive as possible, in order to keep everybody from talking over everyone, much like the webinars that you may have seen many of us on before. Everybody is muted at the moment, but at the top of your screen, if you're full screen, you should see the chat button. And I don't know if you guys can see the menu up here at the top, but there is a chat button on Zoom. So if you would like to ask a question, and we all encourage Patrick, Anthony, John, and myself, we all encourage questions. We want to make this as interactive as possible, even though we are virtual. Please use that chat option, and I'll try to monitor, since I'm going last. I'll try to go ahead and monitor that chat, and then at the end of an individual presentation, maybe I can go ahead and ask the questions for you. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and actually turn this over and ask Patrick to go ahead and share his screen, and we can get this thing kicked off. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, Patrick, it's all yours, sir. We're already ahead of schedule too. Look at that.
All right, so make sure I've got a few screens up, so let me make sure I can get them all doing what they're supposed to do. So first, I hope everybody's having a good morning, and they always put me on first. I think it's because of making sure everybody's, give time for everybody to wake up before they get to the next ones.
It's because you're the most charismatic of the group, Patrick. That's it.
There you go. So everybody seeing the screen there, that just this little intro that says who I am and the date, etc.
Gotcha.
I'm keeping it simple. I'm a 4-slide deck because the main thing that this is the 15th anyway, isn't it? I don't think I changed it on all my decks.
Yep.
So is this our 15th working group, guys?
Yep, this is it.
Yeah. So that says 15, this says 14. But so basically these are the new features we put in to Memento. This was working with Ray. One of the things about Memento that maybe the whole purpose of Memento was creating this decolored and mosaic view, so you can have a seamless view of geospatial PDFs when you're dealing with a large map set. one of the things that we found was that Memento, when you get it, it's like getting iTunes, and you've got all of your music on a hard drive somewhere, but not in iTunes. And so it takes time. It took time, the early iTunes, just to drag and drop and get all of your music organized the way you wanted it, which create your playlist, etc. So, and that's one of the things that they do at the AGC is they create data sets and they have all the maps already organized, and the users don't want to spend the time to reorganize it. So what we did was we added the features to Memento so that it would actually scan an external hard drive and identify all the GeoPDFs on it and keep the organization in the same way that it looks on the hard drive as it indexes them and generates tile cache for them, and then installs the viewer to the hard drive and is just ready to go and look at those GeoPDFs, so the user doesn't have to do any configuration. That was, it was a little more challenging than we expected because we ran into a lot of performance issues, and getting all that cleaned up was challenging. I'll just put it that way. So I'm gonna go straight into a demo here and show you Memento here. And now we have this new feature that we just called Publisher. And with that, first I'll just show you what the data looks like that I have down here on this external hard drive. Here for this demo today, I've got a USGS data set I created from the historical data around Georgia. I put a layer out there with these are the ones that are from the USGS site that has all of the pre-1900 maps in Georgia. This is the pre-1930 maps. And I really didn't pay much attention to them. I just grabbed these. I thought it was a small enough set I could give a demo. And then I grabbed one 250,000 map. So that was how I organized it just to do this. It takes probably about 15 minutes to scan and index all of these off the hard drive. There's about, well, you just saw how many there were. I didn't count them, but that set there about 15. Here we're looking at 50 items. So I think it says there 17. So almost 70 items. Takes about 50 minutes or 15 minutes. So it's about 5 per minute that'll generate multiple levels of cache on the PDF. So, but that's for these. And back in here, use directory, go in there, that's up on another screen. So let me pull it over. Here, I'll navigate down to that back one right here. This is that's where I've already run it, but here we are. I'm going to create demo 1 here, and just what it's going to do is it's going to the directory that I choose here. Back on demo 1. This directory, when I choose demo 1 here for my selected folder, it's going to go inside of this and scan all the subdirectories to find those PDFs. And it also gives an option that these are some test PDFs that I've been working with where I've got a GNC. If I wanted to throw any PDFs that I've already indexed in there that are inside of Memento, I can include those. But that's optional, and I can also zoom into a layer and just publish it out. But this is, and at this point, it's just ready to go. I'm gonna kick it off, and it goes off and starts gathering information. Now, unlike most people, I don't mind doing live demos, and so this is actually code that I was just working on last night, fixing a bug on it. So that also always gives me an excuse if something doesn't work. I can say, oh, it's the new code, not the way the software is. So I was, so this is actually a release that I was just cleaning up an issue with a projection that we weren't expecting in one of the GeoPDFs that Ray gave me. And Ray, by the way, I have that fixed now. So you'll be getting an update for that. So while this is running, between 80 and 90%, that's actually where it does all the work. It's generating for each one of the each GeoPDF, it's creating a XYZ tile set so that first look at the GeoPDFs, it doesn't have to do any work. I'm actually generating the entire tile set that gets published along with this on this. So now, while that's doing the work, I'll show you what actually what the result of it is, because I ran it this morning, and it took, you see where it generally started here at 750, but it was done, 756 was when I actually started it, and it was done the last folder in here. If I go into my image cache, I can see how long it took. All of these, it took about, again, that was the 10 minutes that it ran when this was the last one that completed here.
Hey, Patrick.
Right.
Hey, Patrick. Real quick.
Yes.
Can
Yes.
we maximize your screen so we can see everything a little bit better, please? Would that be possible?
What do I need to do? What does that reduce the, I'll just do it. Now, what do you need me to do?
Just maximize your screen. Your windows are a little bit small.
Oh, gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay. You know what I can probably do? So this is probably just gonna mess everything up. I should have reduced the resolution of the display because it's a, let me try that and see if I just destroy you guys or not, but.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off there, but.
No problem. I take this down to instead of the HDMI and take it to here. I think this is about right here. I'll keep the forces the same. How's that look there? That size for you?
That's a lot better. Thank you, man.
Yep. All right. So I just note to say, uh-oh, I didn't say keep it. Sorry. So this is chugging along, and here's this here. So this is what this is normally I would have selected demo. I selected demo 1, so it's building all this out right here. That has not been completed yet, but demo has. This is what I ran earlier today. And it puts an executable right here that when you run it, everything it needs is in this side directory here, except for this one executable that actually does a link to what's actually being published up in here. So we didn't want to drive the users up in this, so we just, it runs this viewer right here. And the interesting thing about this, when you run it, that's starting somewhere. It's over here in a different window, so let me pull it over. So if you notice, this one looks different than the one I'm running from because it is actually, we created a separate executable that does the same thing. And I think you guys have heard me talk about in the past where the architecture around Memento, we have an engine that is common between these two that does the decolor and mosaicing and the really the mashup of the GeoPDFs where it creates this seamless view of them. But everything is delivered with RESTful APIs to a embedded browser. So this is a application that can easily be customized, and that's what we did to create a lighter version of it that doesn't have all the features of Memento in it, and it just has just the PDFs that come up in here. So you get a look at the PDFs and the outlines. And this is this set, it's the same set of data here. And it's organized just as you saw it there. So if I click on this guy, it takes me straight to my 200,000 one. Then you have the PDFs here. This is another neat feature that we did, just showing the PDF highlighted the ones that are visible. You can click on a PDF and it opened it in a different window, but it will open up the just the full PDF here. So it's not just with all the marginalia around it for any instructions that may be in the PDF. It just gives you a quick view of that. We open it within Memento because it's a browser. This is just straight a browser view of the PDF. One of the requests that Ray has that we haven't implemented, and that is when you're opening a specific PDF, I'll just do this. Instead of open, we want to be able to open the PDF, but also open it with your default viewer. So it will, if you have Adobe Reader in place, it will use that to get to it, because while this lets you print a single page PDF, it doesn't give you all the interactive features you get with Acrobat or Avenza, et cetera. So, but there's no reason why, like I said, we can launch to the default viewer. We didn't. This does the same thing, different PDF. So it's a quick way to get to your PDFs there that you're looking at. Sorry about that. I'm having trouble with the smaller screen. But it's, again, it's just one of the historic PDFs, but because it's a PDF and a geospatial PDF, it's fairly ubiquitous. And Memento kind of does this without any knowledge of your data set other than the georegistration that's inside of the PDF. And as you pan and zoom around, you see it looks very much like a website, because that's actually what it is, but this version doesn't go to the internet at all. It could, but it doesn't. So anything we're doing in here, it can be customized or white boxed for any solution that you may have. White labeled, it is, sorry about that. But it's, but yeah, so it's just the easy way to zoom around, look at map sets, and stitch them together, because everybody is familiar with navigating a map, but it's sometimes hard to find these. If you remember what it was looking like there in the folder system, you know, you would need the naming standard and to know which one this is. For instance, I've got one Atlanta, one here, but I know that there's more than one map that crosses Atlanta, and I don't know exactly which one it is. So, let me here, Milton, turn off the 1950. And here's Atlanta in the metropolitan area here. This one, I don't know which map this is, but I would if I looked here. I know that this is the Marietta map. So, but all of that we can, there's all kinds of, there's no limits to what we couldn't do in the app, because again, it's a web app, and anybody with HTML capabilities could build enhancements to this and deliver with it. We have a very simple way where we deliver an app with the engine, so it opens it up and runs it. So,
Hey, Patrick, do you mind if I just
Yeah.
give a little insight, a little background?
Sure.
We engaged with Patrick a number of years ago to come up with it, and if anyone is familiar with the NGA, I would want to say military, but it might have been in other uses there, a product that was called Falcon View, which basically was able to load NGA data in at different scale levels and gave you the ability to zoom in and change map scales as you went along. And that was always a goal where, hey, can we take these GeoPDF files we have and give it a Falcon View type feel to it? We never had much success working with the Falcon View folks for a number of reasons that I'd rather not get into. So Patrick had come up with the idea behind Memento, and then that led us to say, okay, this is good, and funding kind of came and went and back and forth and such as, and a recent engagement with Patrick was, hey, this does a good job, but we have folks that ask us for data, and they say, you know what, I don't want the entire state of Missouri. I just want, these 27 files or this particular area. And you'd load up a disk and you'd send them 15, 27 files, and as Patrick says, you get them in that file format thing, and you're like, okay, great, now I got these files. They have names that sort of make sense. Sometimes names don't make sense. And what do we got? What are we doing with it? And a lot of times, the GeoPDF products are going to the, and I'm going to try to word this very nicely, the non-mapper. Let's say. We deal here at AGC with the military folks, some of the best and brightest geospatial information folks, that are around. But we also deal with folks that aren't geospatial. They're non-mappers. They just want to see something. They just want to get what they want. So we'd send them these files, and they weren't sure what to do, how to do. We thought some kind of a front end where they can kind of bring them all together. So the combination of being able to give them the files in a format that they can read in anywhere they want with PDF, with the TerraGo software creating an index map so they can visually see on a map where they're located, then also giving the ability to use Patrick's software to put them together seamlessly. We felt as if we would be delivering to that end user, that non-mapper, the person who isn't sitting at the big honking machine that many of us might be sitting at right now that has, the latest version of ArcGIS Pro, and so we can get in there and pull our hair out as to what is ESRI thinking these days with this or that. They don't have those tools, but they have the ability to make decisions based on a map if they can get one. And if we send them a format that they can't read, we're not giving them the ability to do anything. So let's give them a format they can read. GeoPDF, geospatial PDFs. Let's give them software that they could use it with. Adobe is ubiquitous; it's everywhere. Give them access to the toolbar, the TerraGo, the little crappy one that comes with Adobe. Have tools like what Patrick is developing, index maps like TerraGo has for us. Combine that all together, and we're hoping that non-mapper end user can get the most out of the data that we spend, billions of dollars a year as the U.S. government producing. And, then we want a half of a quarter of a fifth of a % of the people to be able to use it. I'd like to see everybody be able to use this data. So that's kind of the whole idea. So what we're trying to do now is what Patrick has is put this data on a hard drive when somebody asks for it. Then in-house here with our big honking machines, we can run all the caching and the indexing and everything that we need to do with that file, those files, put it on that hard drive and send it out to that person, and they just execute it. They bring it up in Adobe. They use the TerraGo tool. They bring it up with the Memento Viewer Lite, and they're seeing what they want to see, and they're getting that information. So that's just a little bit of the background where we're going, because you might be looking, going, well, doesn't this exist? Why do people need that? If I got ArcGIS, why am I using this? It's working for a geospatial organization like AGC that I do, and then having to deal with anybody but geospatial folks is kind of a strange dichotomy, but it's what I do. So that's kind of a little bit of background there. So I didn't mean to go on and on there, Patrick, but I thought I'd just give a little bit of background as to what we were thinking and why we went with you to help us try to pull some of this off.
Well, thanks. I think you did a better job describing it than I would, because I would just be kicking the wheels, I think, and showing you some of the things that probably don't work before I got into the things that work. But if you notice, guys, I was just, while Ray was talking, I just went through it. It's got very basic, simple mapping features in it. All these features, we use open layers under the hood, as well as we have some Proj 4 in our main engine. So we have GDAL, Proj 4, as well as the Geotrans. We use that for the normative standard whenever we run into the old style of geospatial PDFs that are that have those parameters in it instead of your ISO 32000 version. But yeah, so we support both formats, but you kind of have to, and these are, like I said, these are just real basic features. We didn't, and it just demonstrates mapping capabilities on the map itself, where you can do searches, you can do, in fact, I can even put a address in here because I am on the internet. When I said I didn't go to the internet, we do a geo lookup for, yeah, I'll put my home address in here. This is getting published, right? So I'll go to where my work is.
No, Patrick, put your home address on there too, so we can all come
Exactly.
and visit, get some tea or something at your house next time we're in Atlanta.
I thought there was a nickel tour or something that I got invited to during the dry run yesterday.
Sometimes I don't type it in formatting. We don't do as good as Google does, and it takes me over to 00 when I do that. Let me try and re-enter an address then. No, sorry guys, I haven't live demo not working. I can get to Atlanta, but it's not doing the address lookup. But again, that is a API call that we're making going outside of the viewer itself. So it can be, we can do custom enhancements for making calls to other web services to get it into a browser-like experience inside of the app. That's, so when the other thing, when Ray was saying that the funding has been kind of comes and goes, it's mostly been going though. So we did this this past year for Ray, and thanks to Ray for, you know, kind of reinvigorating, bring it back up. But it had been memento. We had it sitting on the shelf for a couple of years, and while we were doing that, North Avenue has been doing quite a bit of full stack development for other companies. So we're kind of contractors to hire these days. So that's anyway, that's the, we've got a team of about 12 IT professionals, and all we do is boutique software development for that includes cloud transformations, mapping software, and we do most of our development here in the Atlanta area. Okay, any questions?
I don't see anything, Patrick. Could you throw your contact information up again, though, just to make sure everybody has your information?
Sure.
Yeah, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna make all of these slides available for everyone. Um, at the by the end of this week. I didn't mention, but we also have Madison, who is actually out in California and got up really early to support us. Um, Madison's kind of running all the magic in the background for us. So we've got a recording going on, and we'll make sure that we have the recording available by the end of the week as well. After we'll do a couple of little edits to help smooth the transitions out. Um, we're right on the clock. But there's Patrick's contact information. Obviously, we'll get those slides to you. So if you have any other questions or how you can get your hands on Memento and that seamless viewer, he'll definitely be able to help you out or let you know what the situation is. Um, so with that, I think everybody's first cup of coffee is probably gone. I'm going to throw the agenda back up here. If I can get the screen back here, I'm going to go ahead and throw the agenda back up. If anyone has any questions, please go ahead and type those in, and we'll make sure Patrick will be able to answer those for you, either via the chat or just over the phone there. Let's take a quick break if that sounds good to you, Ray, and come back at 1:45.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Okay. We'll go ahead and take a quick break, everyone, and we'll see you back at 9:45. And Anthony's going to give us the skinny on what's going on with Avenza and a good update for them.
Good. Thanks.
You got it. All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, it's 9:45. We're going to go ahead and try to kick this back off. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Anthony Perlman, who manages special projects over at Avenza. Ted Florence wasn't able to make it today. He had a personal item that he needed to get resolved. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Anthony. I'm going to stop my share, Anthony, and just kick it over to you. I don't see any questions in the chat, but let's go ahead and turn it over to Anthony.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. Let me just get my screen set up and we'll move right into it. Scott, can you just confirm you're seeing my presentation there?
I've got you. Everything is great. Your audio is perfect. Thanks.
Beautiful. Good morning, everyone. Let me just move something here out of the way. There we go. So again, welcome to the 15th annual U.S. Government Geospatial PDF Working Group. I'm Anthony Perlman. I'm Avenza's Director of Special Projects. Today, I'm filling in for our President, Ted Florence, who, as Scott mentioned, is unfortunately available to speak to you today. Ted sends his best wishes to all and apologizes in advance for his last-minute substitution of me. I'll do my best today to cover off for Ted, but please know, I'm not the geospatial expert Ted is, so if you send in hard questions, I'll probably field those to my team. As a long-term supporter of this group and an early adopter of the format, Avenza is proud to have continued involvement in this group. And we welcome this opportunity today to tell you a little bit about ourselves and what we are up to. Many of our solutions and services rely on offline data, maps, that can be used seamlessly off the grid and utilize the geospatial PDF format. Our agenda for today is quite simple and straightforward. I'll briefly tell you who Avenza is and provide you an introduction to and focus on our flagship mobile application, Avenza Maps. I will update you on current changes to Avenza Maps under our New Horizons moniker. Of course, I'll do the usual name dropping of a short list of key government agencies that use our solutions. I will tell you about our latest and newest version of Avenza Maps, Avenza Maps Rugged Edition, and give you a brief insight into some of the things we have on our current roadmap. Who is Avenza? Avenza is a Canadian headquartered software development company that was founded 27 years ago in 1995. We are the proprietors of industry recognized products and applications such as Geographic Imager, Map Publisher, and Avenza Maps. Avenza has a recreational and commercial business footprint that spans the globe. We are a trusted third-party developer for Adobe systems. Our products are trusted and used worldwide by numerous government organizations and partners, including National Geographic, New York Times, What Three Words, Trimble, Garmin, HarperCollins, Swiss Topo, and many more. We provide authoritative content from national mapping agencies, premium publishers, established map makers, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations. One of our primary missions is to empower people to create, work with, and use high-quality digital maps on their various mobile smart devices. A key business goal for Avenza has always been to become the essential one-stop mobile map shop for business, government, travel, and recreation. Enough about us. Let's talk about Avenza Maps. Avenza Maps represents our flagship mobile application that is platform delivered on Android and iOS and serves up and leverages almost 1 million digital maps with a substantial recreational and commercial user base across the globe. Avenza Maps is an all-encompassing mobile app and offline mapping solution. No network connection is required to use Avenza Maps and most of our tools and functionality. It is used both by recreational enthusiasts and spans across to enterprise-level professionals. It is secure and a vetted application used by government personnel around the globe. Users own their own data with Avenza Maps. One of the main reasons why government and enterprise users utilize our app is because of how we comply to OPSEC requirements as to where and how the data can be distributed securely and following whatever protocols an organization may follow, such as usage of secure storage, flashcards, and other devices that are used in the app. This allows our app to be totally agnostic to the data it consumes. The data can be uploaded to our map store for secure distribution, and that includes private storage. But again, only if the organization chooses to allow this and authorize it. Our current application and solutions, along with items being delivered in our roadmap, are as follows. Avenza Maps is going to be a more efficient and modern way to use digital maps. It already is, but we're extending that capability. Avenza Maps will have an integration path to cloud map storage for users and organizations. Avenza Maps will support web portal capability to enable in-field data collection and dissemination. Avenza Maps will also use our web portal to aggregate digital content, maps, and plan recreational and commercial activities. The Avenza Maps application has been integrated with third-party software and hardware producers for ease of use, feature extension, and to promote interoperability. On the commercial side, as I promised, and very quickly, let the name dropping begin. We are definitely a very proud, small, and growing Canadian company. And we are even more proud to deliver solutions and services that extend across these groups and this class of government agencies. We span infrastructure, resource management, military defense, all the way to security intelligence, which is a key area of focus for us, delivering for the likes of the Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation, the Forest Service, National Park Service, the U.S. Department of the Interior, Department of Defense, the United States Army, the United States Air Force, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency. Honestly, this is a short list, and it does not even speak to our passionate recreational user base. I definitely realize that the majority of this audience today is skewed more to our commercial offerings. However, this recreational use case of our app demonstrates the diversification of our offering. Avenza Maps Recreational. It does solve 4 fundamental problems in this use case, providing useful maps for targeted purposes such as hiking, biking, off-road camping, where players like Google have insufficient detail or lack of coverage. In this example of international travel, no data or roaming charges are incurred when used in foreign countries. We rely on GPS. Again, a key differentiator in our offline capability. Map quality and variety. We have almost 1 million digital maps instantly available on a mobile device, and again, without sacrificing quality. lack of bandwidth, streaming services and other ways of accessing your items in the field fail to perform when there is no internet connection. And in a recreational example, such as when hiking or traveling in remote unconnected areas. For our publishers, and this is key, it allows our publishers utilizing our map store to stay relevant, compete with map devices and in-car systems. There's no development needed from them. They enter into a digital marketplace without having to develop and maintain mobile software or any software. We reduce the barriers to market. It gives our publishers instant access and large exposure to a massive digital marketplace, no matter the size of the publisher, whether they're delivering a handful of maps, one, or even 1,000. The cost savings are automatic, no printing, distribution, inventory, or return costs, including quick, easy digital product updates in real time. Repurposing and re-commoditize existing assets is a significant value to our publishers. And again, the global reach has, we provide access to millions of users and a demand for their products. Exposure, we also expose publishers to our third-party partner offerings and integrations like Planet Labs, Garmin, Trimble, Safran, Vectronics, Polaris. I don't need to read the whole list, but we continue to grow that list on an ongoing basis. Avenza Maps New Horizons is the new moniker representing a branding change for Avenza Maps. And it encompasses major user interface and experience improvements. We've put together a completely revamped user interface and updated map viewer experience. We are within a month of releasing a brand new Avenza Map Store interface, making it easier to find and purchase maps. We provide simplified management of maps and data layers. We've also implemented cross-platform consistency in the UI and all workflows. We've moved towards common in-app architecture and libraries. Again, we made major UI improvements and improved accessibility, specifically on the Android side. And very recently, we released renewable in-app subscriptions with appropriate server-side tracking and management. We've added improved support of the GPX file format. We developed and implemented a complete new design framework. We fundamentally did a holistic rebrand and redesign of the entire app. With the forthcoming launch of the new Map Store, and you notice I hesitated when I said a month because you hate making commitments in public presentations, but we are tracking on delivering our new Map Store within the quarter. I think it will be within the next month. So with that forthcoming launch of the new Map Store, we've revamped this entire experience. This comes with a new landing page, categories, activities, and a significantly improved search. I want to talk to you about one of our next generation offerings, Avenza Maps Rugged Apps Edition. Avenza Maps Rugged Edition represents an even more secured and enhanced version of our standard Avenza Maps application version. This new version offers an elevated level of security and compliance that meets the needs of a changing world and environment and delivers a secure and vetted application to commercial users who demand and require a safe and secure application. let's talk about the problem. The real problem is a changing world that now requires a new level of secured applications to exist to ensure safe and secure operations across essential workflows. Avenza has always and historically participated in providing the most secure and safe experience possible across our products and solutions. And our previous involvement with the iGAP GeoInt store was our legacy positioning for these secured offerings. With the deprecation of the iGAP GeoInt App Store in the fall of last year, we've now moved to the next generation offering. We know that public apps are not appropriately secure or secured and provide little protection against cyber attacks. The proliferation of things like ransomware, data theft, spyware, viruses are an ongoing and ever-growing concern for government organizations. In the last year, there has been specific White House executive orders from a federal level indicating that businesses must adopt security best practices and work towards a zero trust architecture. They must accelerate movement to secure cloud services, including the SaaS type models, software as a service, and they've been instructed to invest in both technology and personnel to match these modernization goals. It is on the heels of these executive orders and based on the reality of the world we live in today that Avenza has taken a major focus on the Avenza Maps Rugged Edition. The solution, Avenza Maps Rugged Edition. It's an app designed with an elevated commercial level of security and vetted secure. And I need to reinforce the fact that Avenza Maps has always been secure. It has always maintained a secure profile. This new offering is an elevated version of that. It's NIAP compliant, National Information Association partnership. It's an app purpose engineered to provide a secure commercial solution, in most cases specifically for government use. Avenza Maps Rugged Edition comes with access to Avenza's Maps Enterprise and Pro tier feature functionality and capability. And this new program recently started for all the early adopters engaging on Avenza Maps Rugged Edition. We are giving unlimited access to the almost 1 million maps that exist in the Avenza Map Store today. Our strategic and long-standing partnership with SAIC, a premier Fortune 500 technology integrator and defense contractor here today, has led to a new level of application vetting for our Avenza Maps Rugged Edition. This will ensure Avenza Maps Rugged Edition meets the high standards required to be an approved and secured app that meets the security requirements of a changing world and allows Avenza to continue our secured offerings portfolio and taken to a new level. Our partner, John Holcomb from SAIC, is going to speak to you today to this in greater detail in the next presentation. So what's next? Most companies avoid roadmap discussions or public promises. But I can tell you, we are growing at Avenza at an accelerated speed. Well, most companies suffered during this pandemic nightmare and quite frankly continue to suffer. we chose to not take our foot off the accelerator. Our recent user interface and user experience of Avenza map changes under new horizons. With our very soon to be launched new map store and improved experience, represent us well as we continue to innovate. Things like base maps and base layers, geo-package support, backup and restore functionality, multi-page PDF functionality, and an ongoing and continuing list of expanding supported hardware integrations continue to show our commitment to this space. As we come to the close of this presentation, we want to know what you think of Avenza Maps, including the proposed upcoming changes. Whether we missed anything, what you would like to see, or simply your overall impressions. Please share your thoughts on this short survey by scanning the QR code, or if you are looking for a precise solution or even a custom offering for your specific workflow requirements, please contact us. We can be reached in several ways. For products, you can generally email us at products@avenza.com. If your focus is the Avenza Maps Rugged Edition, please contact us at ruggedapps@avenza.com. And if you wish to contact me personally, don't hesitate to do so. I can be contacted at arp@avenza.com. I want to thank you for your time today, and I return you to our host.
Thanks, Anthony. Fantastic. We had a couple of questions. It looks like the chat was disabled for the attendees. I apologize for that. Madison, if you could help me out with that, that would be fantastic. In the meantime.
Well, Scott, that actually works perfect for me because I'm trying to avoid questions as the last minute fill-in.
I understand. We're going to try to go ahead. I think I did ask, I went ahead and put that in the chat there real quick for any questions that people may have for Patrick and for you. Obviously, we can get those answers forwarded across to who can actually answer the questions. I'm sure you can answer them all though, Anthony. Come on.
No problem.
All right, that's great. And we're still right on track. Ray, would you like to add anything for us here?
No, I'm in good shape. Anthony, thanks. Appreciate you doing the presentation, being the last minute fill in, and be sure to give Ted a big hug and kiss for us all.
Will do, guys. Thanks.
Nothing but hugs, man. Okay, so we're going to take another quick break while we flip some things around. John Holcomb is going to speak with us next about what Anthony alluded to in the Rugged App Store provisioned by SAIC. Should be really interesting for the majority of us online, especially those in the federal government. But we'll go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll come back or reconvene at 10:20. And refill that third cup of coffee, I guess. So we'll see you all at 10:20 again. And Madison, if you want to give me a ring about the chat being disabled or something that I can help with, please do. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Holcomb, SIC. John, the floor is yours.
I'm here. Okay. Share my screen. All right. I want to thank Ray and Scott having me here. We've all known each other for a while, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to this group. I think it's a perfect match. Anthony, for the fantastic setup there. It must be great at volleyball. I don't know how I got a hand in here, but whatever, we'll ignore that. Okay, so I'm going to talk about rugged apps. And we mentioned a little bit about IGAP. IGAP was a contract that I managed. I'm program manager with NGA. NGA had an app store. NGA wanted to have commercial applications available for end users. Avenza was one of those. We're one of the very first ones. Ted and I met back in 2015, really at the beginning of that program. We were able to get it up on the NGA App Store for years. It was one of the most popular, highly demanded. In fact, it was a study that was done by NGA, and it was the most highly demanded application out of the NGA App Store. The role that we played for NGA was kind of multifold. It was the business side to have a relationship. It was very difficult for the government to have business relationships with lots of companies and still meet the federal acquisition regulations. So they had a contract full and open with SAIC, who's a major defense contractor. And then we had business relationships with companies like Avenza. But then the other part of that became the security aspects, making sure that applications that go onto government devices don't have inherent risks. And it's from a timing perspective, those who remember the OPM breach, OPM happened probably 3 or 4 months after the original IGAP program started. And we've seen cyber threat after cyber threat. That became the most significant portion of what we're doing. And our job was to provide NGA secure, mission critical, mobile, primarily mobile applications that they could distribute through their app store to their customers. We did a lot of apps. We provided up to 186 different applications to NGA. Which in many cases went on a lot of your devices. The other thing is that we did every single update, and I'll explain to you why that's important. It's not a minor point, but it won't make sense yet. So I'll get back to that. We know of at least 54,000 users. NGA really owned and operated the App Store as a separate contract, so we didn't have direct exposure to the customer base, but we were the provider of all the commercial applications. And that store basically is at the point of shutting down now. NGA is. NGA ran into a budget problem. It's just pretty common these days. And they pulled out all the commercial apps in September of last year. And they're going to shut the store down entirely. It's just a process they have to go through. It's just unfortunate because there are a lot of good apps. And then a critical one a lot of you know about. There were electronic flight bags like ForeFlight. In aviation mobile, there was Orbit Logic, which was an app that could tell you any satellite that's going to go overhead. And there were a lot of others. They're just ones I picked up. Every one of those things is a commercial app and had a lot of use. And it is certainly more cost effective for the government to be able to use an app versus building one. You look at the quality, the investment that Avenza is making that Anthony just talked about, that's very hard for the government to do. I'm 40 years with NGA as a contractor, as a developer, and I've seen that, and I know the actions required. So NGA decided to leave in September, and that was kind of ungraceful. A lot of you got burned. I know Ray and I talked about it. A lot of people who are users suddenly found their apps stopped. I couldn't quite accept that. And I went to SAIC leadership and I said, we should commercialize this because the need for these kinds of applications is still there. I think there's a business opportunity. We're still a for-profit company. That was kind of new. So it's taken a little bit of time, but we are up and operational as a separate, not a separate entity, but part of NGA of SAIC, but a commercial business offering. So a lot of things have happened over the last year that are of particular interest to me. Last year, we had the Colonial Pipeline breach. Right after the Colonial Pipeline breach, there was an executive order 14028 that came out. And it was a very well written. Clearly, it was started well before the Colonial Pipeline breach. And one of the sections, chapter 4 or section 4 of that thing, focused on a secure supply chain. In other words, making sure that the applications that go on your device have been checked out for security problems and are coming from a known source. And this is really where Rugged Apps fits in. And so, and a lot of effort is going in now to take that executive order, which I've learned a lot about how long it takes an executive order to go into place. And the Office of Management Budget, which is part of the White House, saying you're going to have to do this. First, they have to decide how to do it, and then they have to do it. And so there's a huge emphasis on that. And in addition to that, we have the conflict in Ukraine, and that has brought a lot of concerns about cyber, and I don't see that problem going to go away. Whether it's the Russians or the Chinese, we have a significant security risk that we have to be concerned with. So Rugged Apps, where does it fit in? Well, one of the things we learned over 7 years working with NGA, that there's a gulf between the government consumer and the app provider. And I kind of allude to that a little bit. We know that there's strong demand signal for commercial applications of the government. Great. But the government says they want commercial. There are things about the government that are inherently different. Security is one of them. If you're using events and maps to hike a trail for personal recreation, you're probably not terribly worried that the rest is going to hack into your device. If you're using WhatsApp to communicate, probably not as concerned, although I personally would be. But I will tell you that in the Ukraine conflict, the Russian general was using a commercial messaging application over Ukrainian comms. And the Ukrainian intelligence group identified him, geolocated, and killed him and his entire staff because they were using a commercial application that wasn't secure. Yay for the Ukrainians. I don't want to see that happen to the Americans or any of our allies. What I have learned over 7 years, I have yet to see a single application come in that didn't have security flaws in the software. People are not taught security in our schools. They may go through a tremendous amount of effort to secure the communication from their app to something else, but the app is not secure. It's like a fortress that has a picket fence on the backside. And so Rugged Apps is about getting that problem resolved. The other thing with the government is it's a very slow contracting process. We have federal acquisitions regulations. We have a lot of intention in our government to make sure that corruption, fraud doesn't occur, but that is a slow process. On the other hand, a commercial company like Venza, like Terrago, like others, they are swift and agile companies. They invest in themselves. Anthony was talking about their roadmap of improvements. They didn't wait for a contract mod. They're doing that. They're doing that because they think the market's going there and because they believe that makes them a better product and more competitive. They do have limited budgets. And I don't say that because they can't afford to do the improvements, but the government acquisition process, if it takes you 2 years, that's a lot of money that you have to spend is hard to recover. They are unfamiliar with the US government. Why do I say that? I have talked to a lot of contractors or a lot of vendors. They don't know what the FAR is, Federal Acquisition Regulations. And that's a big issue if you want to do business with the government. Whereas a company like SAIC, we do that all the time. We have compliance groups and all that to make sure that we stay compliant with the law. It's certainly slower, but it's important. On the bottom side of this, what we know is commercial applications are vulnerable to cyber attack. And that's true with government applications as well. And I'll come back to that. All right, so what is Rugged Apps? Rugged Apps is a business the SAIC has, where we take commercial applications and we work with commercial companies like Avenza to make sure that their application is secure, the application itself. It is still their application. We don't modify their code, they modify their own code. But we have the technical wherewithal to actually scan their application and tell them what is wrong and guide them to go in and fix that. Okay. We identify applications for a couple of ways. We can identify an application because our own market research says that there's a business opportunity there, or we can do it because a government customer says, I really want this application. We build a business case and determine if that's going to be something we want to get into. There's a standard called NIAP, National Information Assurance Partnership. It is a NIST standard, except for actually it's an NSA standard. I've talked to the program manager. NSA build it, they maintain it. And what they've done is they've identified the things that people put in their code, generally because they didn't know that that was a problem, that becomes a vulnerability that people know how to hack and know how to take advantage of. And the goal that we have is to make sure that those vulnerabilities are out of the code. A lot of what I've seen the government do in their labs is an approach that says, how bad is it? Is an acceptable level of risk? Our approach is get the risks out. It's very different. And that it's, in my opinion, what you really want to do. We have invested, SAIC has invested in some very high-end security tools. This is something that a company like Avenza or other companies could not afford to do. We could do that because we're going to do that for a lot of different tools. We maintain that. So where Avenza is spending all this time improving their product to give you a better experience, we're spending time and money on improving our security and keeping up with the evolving security threats so that what we provide to you is not going to be a risk to you. We do a review of the findings, and then we turn around and we tell Avenza what's wrong. And we do that for every single version. Part of the reasons we do that, or how we can do this, is that we are able to scan an application in a day. Normal government systems like DISA, like the Air Force Cyberspace Capability Center, because the way they approach the problem, it takes them 9 to 12 months. If you go through a common criteria test lab, which is what NIAP's original intention was, it is $1 to $1.2 million for the product provider to invest to actually get their application remediated. In our case, we don't charge the product provider to test their applications. We make money as a company by taking a piece of the sales price of a license, which means we have taken on a significant amount of risk to make sure that we're aligned with the vendor to provide a quality product to you, the customer, and to make sure that you're getting the quality you should get. So how do we do that? How in the world do we get to 1 day, 2 days? And there's a little caveats there, I'll explain it. But there are two concepts that people are not always familiar with, depending upon their knowledge of software. There is what's called source code. When I write software, I write it in source code. It's human readable. There's lots of different languages. You've probably heard of COBOL if you're old, or Fortran these days. You're talking about Objective-C or Python. Those are languages that human beings write in, and they can be read. Then there's the executable. The executable is the actual application that goes in your device, and it's a bunch of ones and zeros. Machines love them. They know exactly what to do. It's not readable by a human. So in our case, we only test source code. So Avenza is sending us their source code, which means their crown jewels of what their application is, for us to go scan it. When you go to a government lab, nobody's sending the government source code. They're scanning an executable. They're scanning a black box, and they're trying to infer what the risks are. They're trying to determine when it's too bad. I'll give you an example. If you get something out of the Department of Homeland Security, they have an app vet program. I've looked at it. App vet goes out and grabs a current version of an application off of Apple's App Store or Google's Play Store, and they look at it and they give you an idiot light. It says, this is how bad it is. Me to you, having reviewed the findings, don't download any applications to CDC because they have major critical findings in them. Okay, they're a threat to you. That said, when I look at source code, I can find out exactly what's wrong with it. If you look at a black box and you put an input in and you get an output out, you're guessing. So we could do things very quickly. We've highly automated our process where the government's approach is generally labor intensive. We do 3 types of testing. We do what's called static code analysis. So we scan it and we look for typical errors that people make. Second thing we do is it's called open source dependency analysis. So open source software is something everybody uses. Doesn't matter if you're government, commercial company, it is pieces of software that you can get for free and you can incorporate in your code. People do this as a hobby. Some people get some money out of it. Our enemies know about that. Chinese, the Russians, North Koreans, Iranians are attacking open source libraries actively as a way backdoor into government systems. So we scan and we look at every version of open source software, and open source calls up other open source, which calls other open source. You have this in-depth analysis you have to do to figure out everything. Typical problems are you have a piece that we know is corrupted, right? We have to get that out. 2, people haven't kept up with the current version of the open source. They may be back quite a few versions, and that's a problem because there's security risks in it. 3, we just scan the open source itself to look for its vulnerabilities. When we're all done with that, there's a process that takes source code and turns it into an executable called a build process. And we build it. We didn't build the application, right? We didn't write the software. Commercial company like Avenza does that. But we actually built the executable. And the executable we scan again, and we watch how it behaves. Is it sending message traffic to places it shouldn't go, like your location? Is it sending information that's unencrypted? Did it leave things on the device like passwords? We've seen all of these plenty of times. The vendor will remediate. We don't sit there and look at all their code. We are on the scanner, and then we looked at the exceptions, and we'll get on the phone with, Avenza's chief engineer and their team. We meet with them weekly. Go, hey, these are the things we found. And they go back and fix it. And sometimes we had a finding the other day, wasn't there the time before. It's just human error, right? It's just human error. These are complex pieces of software. And so they go back and they fix it. When they're all done with that, we build the executable. We generate an entire security body of evidence that we can take to the government CISOs. It says, for this particular version, this is all the testing we've done, and we can distribute that app. So Avenza would not be distributing to you the Rugged Apps Edition. We would. And that way we know exactly what was done. You got a whole pile of people over here that are highly cleared, right? Been working in the intelligence community. And we're going to provide the executable, and that makes sure the government knows that, and they have the appropriate paperwork associated with that to say, you can use this on your government devices. Okay. I will tell you that people who looked at this originally, the NGA CISO spent a day. He's now the IC CISO. I talked to him 3 weeks ago, and they still fans of what we do. Okay. Business models. So there are 2 primary business models that we have. For an application like Events and Apps, we're going to sell that application, and then we're going to take a piece of that cost for us to pay for our tools, our scanning, and making a reasonable profit, and then the balance of that's going to Avenza. Avenza can sell it too. So there are times where they have existing business relationships. They have somebody who wants to use a credit card. And if Avenza sells it, SAIC will fulfill the distribution, and then we deal with our financials that way. So what the government gets out of it, if you look at that executive order, they have a secure supply chain. They have all the security paperwork they've asked for. This should not be a threat on your devices. We can distribute iOS and Android. We have Events and Maps, iOS and Android today. iOS is extremely elegant solution. Android, not as much, but I'll go over the iOS distribution in a second. It can go directly onto your device. We can connect into your mobile device management systems that some of your agencies may have. We have a sub business here called Scan as a Service, because all the technical stuff we did to get an app ready, there's no reason we can't do that with government code. So if your government agency says, we actually want to get something tested there, we can do that. There were a number of apps that we did for NGA. The Aero app was electronic flight bag, back cache, Mage, that we actually scanned it, provided the input, and the government can modify their code. Okay, distribution. So I'm an electrical engineer, so I like charts. This whole send a source code, get the test results and all that, this is what we've already been talking about to get to the point you have an application ready to go. Once that's done, we put it into our master catalog and we send it off, in this case, to Apple. Apple does their app review. It's about a 3-hour process. And once they're done with that, we control it. We're going to submit it as a private application, meaning you get on your Mac at home or your iPhone, you go look for it, you will not find it. It's there. It's on a globally distributed network where, unlike NGA's that was in a single server in Arnold, Missouri, is a globally distributed set of data centers that are always in sync. There's never a problem with the operating system updating and having the App Store left behind. That's Apple's problem, right? And we have close relationship with Apple on this. But Apple has built a system that allows you to connect to a mobile device management. There's a lot of agencies have. We can go in, there's a piece of software called Apple Business Manager. We get the organization ID. We plug it in, the app flows directly out to that MDM system, and it can populate onto your devices. We then, Events will generate a license key that makes sure that people get paid properly. The application will work. We've tested this. We've tested on Air Force devices, gone directly down to user devices. Not a problem. And it turns out SAIC has a program called ITAS, and for both Air Force and Army, we've been able to test that too. That's Enterprise IT as a Service. So we tested it there. But that's not everybody has a managed device. So there's something called a redemption code. A redemption code is an email we send you. It's got a hyperlink. When you click that hyperlink, it talks to the App Store on your phone. It tells the App Store, go grab this hidden application and drop it on your device. And it works seamlessly. It takes a minute. So I've done that. I dropped Events on my device. And then, it was on my iPad. And when I went and did an update, because we had an icon we had to change, it automatically propagated to my devices without my having to give any thought at all. The top part here is building the business relationship with agencies so that they can pay us and they can accept our paperwork. Okay, so apps that we have available that are coming. This is a new business, right? And so we're kind of focused. We've had a great relationship with Avenza for a long time. Ted and I talked as soon as NGA said they were going to cut this off. And I told him what my plans were, and he was all in. Ted is a big believer in the security aspects and providing a good quality product. It is available today, iOS or Android. Okay. HighSide is a secure messaging app we will have up and operational by the end of this week. It concerns me greatly, and I know talking to Army and Marine Corps folks, warfighters are using WhatsApp to actually do text messaging. I don't understand that. WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. They may talk about having end-to-end encryption. That doesn't mean the application's safe. We find that all the time. And then your message traffic is going to Facebook, whose business model is to sell your private information. And they're using that for conducting operations. I don't think that's a good plan. They haven't had an alternative. They're going to have an alternative. Mill Fill Check, funniest little app, ugly as can be, big pixels, 2 colors. What it does is allows you to record your fuel ratings in a rotary helicopter. The guy's a former Black Hawk pilot. It's ugly because it's night vision doable. Okay, how do you buy? Well, for one thing, anybody in the government has access to NASA Soup. NASA Soup is a government-wide acquisition contract, and you can move money. It's very efficient. They send out an RFQ. usually have us a couple of days to be able to go respond to it. We can do that and the money can move. You don't have to set up a contract. You don't have to do anything. From that standpoint, that's very simple. The other possibility is if you want to use a credit card, we'll work with Avenza. Avenza will take the money and we will move it back. We can do that with any commercial company. All right, so before I go to questions, this is my contact information. And I am just happy to talk to anybody about this. I think it's important and I am happy to be able to provide this kind of capability to the government. Okay, chat.
Yeah, you got one question in there, John, about red teaming. If you guys have any red teams that try to exploit any of the vulnerabilities, I think you talked at length about the open source code and the potential hacking that takes place by our adversaries.
Yeah.
Do you guys red team to find those vulnerabilities?
We don't red team it. We run the scanning tools because the scanning tools, we have close relationship with the scanning companies. These are all upper right-hand quadrant companies. And what we want to do is get speed. I'll give you a reason why speed's important. Go back to those updates. The big electronic flight bag for flight that we did with IGAP. Air Force used it regularly. 39,000 licenses a year to Air Mobility Command. White House uses it. They put out a commercial update every 6 weeks. I don't have 3 months to go test it. And what happens is if you don't do things quickly at the speed of commercial, people will bypass you and they will just go put a commercial application on your device or on their devices, which leaves them open to exploitation. We have considered putting in red teams after the fact, right? Going in and trying to attack codes as an ongoing test, but we do try to speed things up to get it out at the speed that commercial companies are releasing. If Avenza puts out an app and it's available on the iOS and Android stores, and I don't get a response out for 2 months, people will wonder what the relevancy is. Hopefully, Matthew, that answers your question.
Perfect. Thanks, John. Great presentation.
Hey,
too.
John.
Yeah.
A question in general. The Rugged App Store, whatever we want to call it, who is it available to? Who is eligible to be in there? And I'm thinking DoD specific, government in general, Fred at the convenience store. I mean, who could go to this and get something?
So the business relationship, we have to make sales and we're really kind of geared towards large purchases. So technically the store is really Apple's, right? Or Google will have to distribute the APKs directly because Google's a little squirrely. And because really for us, our standpoint, we're less of a store and more of a service. But anybody in the US government, we can move the money for. But I will tell you, I have commercial companies that are inquiring. I'm not planning on ever putting this into the Apple App Store so people can do one-off purchases. That's a whole different realm. But I do plan on making this available to commercial companies. I had one just the other day that contacted me. And it doesn't matter if it's DoD, IC. We're working on some FedCiv agencies now that are interested in Avenza specifically, and that will be able to access it. The nice thing about NASA Soup, it's available for any US government agency. There's also discussion of foreign governments. The applications are not classified. The applications are clean. The specification from the NSA is widely distributed unclassified. So I have no reason why I can't distribute the application and sell it.
Okay, and the reason I ask is, NGA had these grand visions of, here we have this place and the applications are secure. Don't you worry. A better place to get it for Sergeant Snuffy is here as opposed to just downloading it from the App Store, blah, blah, blah. But it was very limited, very, close DoD, maybe IC, and then you'd have someone in the Department of Interior that's, hey, we'd like to get, a whole handful of copies or whatever it is of this particular piece of software, but we can't get into the NGA store or whatever we want to call it because they haven't opened it up to us yet or blah, 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 blah. So if I'm Fred at the Department of Interior and I'd like to get 1, 10, 12, 50, 100 licenses to the Avenza app, and I want it to be secure so my IT folks don't have a tizzy, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
I can work my way through you guys and
Absolutely.
make sure that I'm getting a secure version of it. So
Absolutely.
I'm in Interior. I'm with Veterans Affairs. I'm with throw out some obscure government agencies that we don't even know exist, and they're all eligible,
Absolutely. No question about it.
right?
And I'll tell you that.
And you said you want to go a commercial route. That's in the future. That's what you guys want to do. State and local, quasi-government, things like that in the works. I'm with the the North Dakota blah blah blah. Could I contact you and work something with you to get a bunch of licenses for something that you guys have in your app store? Because I want the secure version. I don't want the general version I can get on the app store. I'd like the secure version. So once again, my IT folks aren't having a hissy fit over what I'm doing.
Yep, absolutely. So I've got a guy out of the Walla Walla district of the Army Corps of Engineers that's managing a dam, wants 20 licenses or 25 licenses. And so he's in the process of doing paperwork. He's going to exchange the money through Avenza with their credit card, his government P card. We're going to distribute to him. Okay.
Right. So that's the Corps of Engineers. So that's DOD. What if I'm with the Washington State Department of Dams,
Not a
and I
problem.
want to do the same thing?
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'm trying to come up with all these different scenarios so that I can put you on the spot here. You don't look like you're sweating yet, so I think I'm doing a good job, or at least you're doing a good job there. Okay. I just want to make sure because I know NJ always had that we want this to happen, we want that to happen, and it hasn't happened yet. And then I get a call or run into somebody and they'd be like, we really want to get this thing, but NGA they're not doing anything for us yet.
Yep.
So
Right.
you guys are okay.
Let me give you 2 other aspects of that. So NGA required access to their single sign-on system called GeoAccess. All that was a problem. All that was a problem. It's a problem for the users, a problem for the developers. The developers spent a tremendous amount of time trying to integrate that piece of software in. We don't have anything like that, right? It's this commercial application that we've guaranteed is actually secure from a NIAP perspective. I'm not trying to deal with 0 day. I'm dealing with a specific government specification. Okay, so the other thing is that NGA paid for those licenses that were consumed. Okay, this is part of the reason why they control who could do what. They're paying the bill. It's also one of the reasons why they shut the program down. They didn't have money to do that. That's a lot of money to pay for everybody's application.
Yeah, it always seemed to me to be too good to be true. So I would tell people jump on it now because I don't see it being around for much longer there. Though I was surprised that it went when it went away. It did seem too good to be true. But I certainly know more than a few people who benefited greatly from what NGA was doing, and in our eyes, maybe that's what NGA needs to do. But hey, I'm just a cog in the wheel, and I'm not. If I was king, but I'm not.
Let's give NGA a little credit. They proved out the business model. We proved out all the technology, and we're able to keep that. Right. That was the conversations we had with NGA when we decided we're going to commercialize this. They agreed that the nature of how we had put together the technology, it was ours to go do. And so now what we have is something that's proven out, and we're not starting from ground zero. And I think that that's real positive.
Very good, very good, John. I knew this would be an interest to folks. I hope it was, and I hope this continues with the great success that we all think it will be. So thanks, appreciate you speaking.
Let me answer George Newberry's question real quickly. He's asked about foreign partner governments. So the answer is yes, but I will have to check export control, right? If it's an export control piece of software, we have like Avenza has an export cert, and there's no issues there. I need to do due diligence to make sure I get crosswise with the Commerce Department or something like that. But from a business standpoint, I'm fine with that.
Great questions, great discussion. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we'd like to get updates, you know, on a periodic basis if possible.
Sure. We're bringing on more apps too. So
That's great. That's great. Okay. We ran a little bit over, but I think we'll be able to, if everyone doesn't mind, I think we could probably go ahead and just carry on and stay on track. I'm not going to be that long, to be honest. I just want to give everybody a quick update on what's been going on at Terrigo over the past year. Thanks everyone for attending. Thanks, Ray, for helping make sure that we get the word out across the community. And with that, let me go ahead and try to give you just a quick update on what we've been up to over the past year. Physical events obviously have started again. I don't know, we're all mapping folks here, so I don't know how many people were able to attend the Esri user conference in San Diego, but it was very well attended this year. We've also attended the previous two GeoEnt events in St. Louis last year, toward the end of the year. I believe that was in October, and then in Denver a few months ago. There it says the Esri UC, so Terrigo is happy to be able to be an exhibitor at that event as a business partner with Esri. Most recently, USGIF has done a really good job, and I don't know if we have anyone from USGIF on the line listening in, but they have they put together several different working groups, and most recently they've been working with ASCIA to put together individual service days. That the U.S. Space Force and U.S. Air Force Service Day was actually last week in Herndon. There are going to be a couple of other service days that you see in that third bullet there for the Navy in October, and then for the Army in February. Those two events are actually going to be held on site at NGA, at NCE. So highly encourage folks to get in touch, or at least kind of monitor what USGIF is doing. They're great for our community, and help lend a whole lot of insight into what's going on in industry, as well as the Intel space and DoD space for that matter. And the SOVIC event in Tampa as well a couple of months ago. And we actually have not attended the Geospatial World Forum before, but we do have representation over in Europe now. So we actually walked the floor there to get our fingers on the pulse of what's going on over there. Early this year, we attended the Defense Geospatial Intelligence Summit in London. We are business, as many of you know, we're business and technology partners with BAE, and are regular attendees at the GXP 360 event in San Diego. And if you're unaware, you can actually push out GeoPDF products out of the GXP environment, both in 2D and 3D GeoPDF. So we have a litany, of course, the DoD, the intelligence community, our federal government users have all kinds of LiDAR data, and are trying to solve the problem of being able to get that content out and down to that non-geospatial person that Ray alluded to earlier. We're also heavily involved, obviously, with the U.S. Army, so we attend regularly the Geospatial Engineering Working Group and the GeoWeek event out at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. I mentioned the USGIF specifically. We continue our membership there and attendance with those working groups and those sponsored events. There is a follow-up to the San Diego event that we attended a couple of weeks ago. There will be a webcast upcoming on the 10th of August. If you would like further information about that, you probably got an email, but if not, please feel free to get in touch with me directly. We do webinars on a regular basis, at least on a quarterly basis. So talking about our latest releases, which I'll get to in the next slide, I believe. But virtual events for training and education, they're always available online, on demand, or on site if you have a group of folks. I did want to bring up about the physical events that have started again. For next year, Ray, hopefully we'll be able to have this in person. When I attended the service day for the Space Force and the Air Force, the USGIF has a fantastic facility out in Herndon that can accommodate a couple hundred people. So I'd like to propose that we sponsor that space for the event next year. And we can talk more about that offline. Just a quick product update. So there have been a lot of releases over the past year. I didn't outline every single one, but everybody seems to be trying to make this transition to ArcGIS Pro. So we have actually done multiple releases over the past year, 4 to be specific, since the last working group. We're currently compatible with ArcGIS Pro version 2.6 to 2.9. If you need an older installer, obviously we can help you with that. But our current version is 2.5.3. We are working towards compatibility with version 3.0 of ArcGIS Pro, but it's quite a heavy lift right now, and the engineering team's working on that. There's a change to the .NET framework, from what I understand from the guys and ladies that are working on that. Currently, on the desktop side and ArcGIS server side, we are at version 7.8.2, which is compatible with 10.8.2, as you see there on the slide. Esri isn't doing a whole lot of enhancements at all to that product on the desktop side. So we have slowed down on our releases, but we're still working a couple of issues with our customers. And I would expect or anticipate that support to continue. I believe Esri's supporting until 2027. So we'll continue to support as long as Esri supports, and continuing doing some small bug fixes and random enhancements. The big news that we have for this event, outside of those major releases for ArcGIS Pro, is that we have moved to 64-bit compatibility now in Adobe Acrobat. So that means the Composer product for Adobe Acrobat and the GeoPDF toolbar for Adobe Reader is now compatible with 64-bit systems. In our latest release, which happened, I believe, last week, we were able to implement the support to create 3D GeoPDFs in 64-bit. So that is available now. If you are a current user, just let me know, and we can make sure we can get those new versions across to you for a 64-bit system if needed. Next thing is the SDK. We have our business partners use this quite heavily. We do have quite a few Army users as well. But I think during the last working group, we talked about metadata handling. And so users are wanting to embed metadata so that that data is discoverable by another enterprise system. So we've enabled support for those large XMP files. There is another fix that we came across for odd sized files, raster products as well. So we have increased the requirement for geo-registration if it's just a scanned map or just a dumb image to 4 geo-registration points now for those odd file sizes. Everything's not square, right? Or everything's not it's many of those images that we're working with from data providers that tend to be longer, more of a rectangular shape. And so it's just an odd file size. And so we've increased those registration points to make sure that we can get a tighter geo-registration there. As you see, there's a steady rhythm for all the products. There is a pending release for our publisher for raster. We're looking at versioning right now. And if we don't know if that's going to be a version 8 or we're going to maintain the version 7. But that is going to have the ability to push multiple images, IMGs, NITFs, SIDs, whatever you're working with, be able to publish or produce multiple GeoPDFs from multiple different files. So more of a batch processing capability, but implemented in the GUI. So a user doesn't have to go command line. Here are the latest versions just for a quick reference. And we also maintain a sheet, obviously, for compatibility on where that works, where all of these products work within the Esri ecosystem or the Acrobat Adobe ecosystem. So if you need that information, we're happy to provide that as well. Next, I just wanted to talk briefly about the other side of our business. We have our GeoPDF side of our business, but then we also have a smart cities and utilities side of our business. And unlike Avenza and other applications that handle GeoPDFs, this is a very, very vertical market that we're approaching for field operations. So it's not necessarily, it's not for the recreational use. It's actually for the asset management market. In that asset management market, we're directly related to IoT type sensors. I think I've mentioned this before, but I always just want to let everyone know that from a mobile asset management and professional workflow standpoint, our smart cities and utilities business has been very successful in leveraging our applications and our middleware, if you will, to 8 of the 10 largest U.S. utilities. The ROI on that has been significant for those utilities. And if you want further information about that, I'll be happy to get you an ebook or a couple of use cases as well. Over 3 million smart streetlights or IoT devices under management right now. And we've been successful to the point where other organizations are actually looking to manage other assets, infrastructure assets for cameras, air quality sensors, EV chargers, etc. The application does integrate seamlessly with GIS because all of those assets obviously have a location. Customer relationship management, work order software, other back office type platforms as well. Let's see here. So there are, just to let you know, please follow us on LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube. We are hiring right now, so if you know of anybody with any of these roles or skill sets, please feel free to reach out to us. You can also find all of this information on our website as well. I did want to give you just a quick demonstration of some of the capabilities here. Here's my contact information again, that you may or may not be familiar with, and just more specifically on how to display some other content here. This is a quick sample using a map series export out of ArcGIS, out of ArcGIS Pro or the desktop environment. You'll notice that I have several different PDFs here. I'm going to turn off this imagery because it's easier to see what's actually happening here. These are all of the 911 calls over a certain period in Hillsborough County in Tampa. But using the map series export and exporting multiple PDFs in the same area, you can actually visualize content through the GeoPDF itself. So I just hit that bookmark and you'll notice that you'll start to see all of those timestamps or all of those incidents from a 911 call perspective in Hillsborough County. And this is all inside of one PDF as well. So you can, from a temporal standpoint, you can actually see what's happening over a specific area over a certain amount of time. It's a pretty interesting way to visualize content. And I did want to mention also the use of the GeoPackage. I know Avenza is doing some work on this front as well, but our GeoPackage, I'm actually going to save this. Let's see if I save this locally. And all of the data that is actually here in this PDF is actually embedded inside of this GeoPackage. So I'm going to go to this GeoPackage here. Sorry. Here's my SQLite browser. And so you don't only have just a physical representation of all of that data, you also have all of the content inside of that PDF. So all of the fire calls, all of the attributes associated to each one of those calls. And this was from the 911 calls directly to the transfer to the fire department. So you actually have all of that content inside of the PDF and it's attached. So that's something pretty interesting. Also wanted to show you a sample of the 3D product that can be produced. This is out of just using our 3D composer. It's LiDAR content and high resolution imagery. It'll take a bit of a second, but it's a pretty dense point cloud. But instead, in the standard GeoPDF, you always have your X and Y displayed down here in the bottom right. Now you actually have an X, Y, and a Z value. So this is an easy way to be able to share your elevation content with your users, DIMs, point clouds, etc. Just an easier way to visualize and actually start disseminating that data to get it out of the office and in a user's hands. Right.
Hey, Scott, what's the size of that file?
Yep. Let's see here. 21 megabytes is a file size. And ironically, having John here, we actually worked with SAIC on this project a few years ago. And it was that effort that was kind of managed out of AGC, right? But involved some other DoD organizations and intelligence community organizations. So, but if you would like further information on this, obviously we can get on the phone individually or in another group if there's a requirement to start distributing your elevation content. We can help you with some online training for that 3D composer product. So that's just a quick overview. Again, here is my contact information. If anyone doesn't have it right now, let me jump into the chat session real quick and see what kind of questions we have. But does the current version support ARC Pro 292? Yes, it does, I believe here on this product side. 2.9. Darcia, I'll get back to you on that 2.9.2 question just to make sure. Let's see. I hope everyone was able to see my screen. Right? Were you able to see the slides?
Yeah, I'm good here. I can see the slides. I saw that someone was having an issue there and wasn't sure what that was. Certainly the slides I can see.
And we'll go ahead and share those, share the slides with everyone. Like I said at the very beginning, we'll share the slides with everyone for all presentations. And if anyone has any other questions, just please help let us know. I'll be happy to respond. And the recording will be available hopefully by the end of the week for everyone to be able to view or share with your colleagues.
And Scott, along with the recording, you're also going to gather up whatever slides might be available for public dissemination to have them out there also.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, very good, very good.
All right. So generally we go ahead and just wrap this up. Ray generally has an open session, Ray and Matt. And I didn't introduce Matt Jones. Matt is Ray's colleague over at AGC. Sorry about that, Matt. But he works closely with Ray on all things GeoPDF, Geospatial PDF running out of the Army as well. So a tremendous resource along with Ray for data and other requests. So Ray, if you want the commercial guys to jump off, that's fine, or we can stay on the line if you'd like to do the rest.
We're good for now. Right now, Scott, since we have a few minutes here, I'm just going to share my screen real fast and just show the website that USGS had introduced to us that I had asked Ariel to speak about, just to give you know, wet people's whistle. I'm sure Ariel and her team will be available in the very near future to answer some questions. So let me just share the screen here. Basically what USGS, well, hold on a second. I should share the screen before. Hold on 1 second here. I am struggling, but I am making it work. Okay, let's see, share this screen here. Hopefully people can see the USGS screen. Am I correct in that one?
I've got you here, Ray.
Okay. Basically, USGS came out with this topo builder, which you can see at topobuilder.nationalmap.gov, that gives people the ability to create their own 7.5-minute topo and not to the constraints of the standard topo 7.5-minute topo rectangles. So I just real fast here. It's just rather simple. Zoom into an area. You know, go to next. Select by grid or select a custom set here. I can get this here, and basically here's your 7.5-minute square that I can put, and I hope you can see that I put that at the corner of those 4 USGS quads, because that's basically where everything always happens, the corner of the map. And I can say, okay, let me have that. I'm not very good at this, so let me see. Okay, so there I established the square, the rectangle. I'm going to say 7.5 minutes as a PDF. It's going to come out as a geospatial PDF. I'll add it to the cart. I go to the cart, 7.5 minutes. I check out. I put my email address in, and you get an email that says, "Hey, we got your order." And the last time I did this, it took several days before I got the product, the link to download the product. But that was the day before they opened it up, or the day they opened it up, or whatever it would be there. So I'm not sure how much quicker it is there. I just put a request in a few minutes ago, but haven't gotten anything back. So within a short period of time, you get the geospatial PDF back of the custom area that you defined there, and then you go on your merry way. So I thought that was a pretty cool application that they had put together there, based off of the national map data, which is what they're putting together the U.S. topo sheets from. So I just thought I would show that real fast. That is what Ariel was going to talk about, along with some of the other stuff that they were going to do and speak about here. But like I said, due to personal reasons, that was not able to happen. So we all know how that is there. I'm trying to get the screen back to the general screen, and I'm not sure how do I do that? I don't want to share anymore. Anyone?
What you trying to do?
Scott, you know,
Scott's got to take it back.
Oh, Scott, can you take it back there? Thank you.
Yeah.
Struggling here to find a button that doesn't exist. So basically, that was just what I just wanted to throw that up there in case people want to chew on that, and you know, maybe specifically signed up for the meeting because they wanted to hear what USGS had to say. That was going to be the crux of what they were going to speak about amongst the other things there. So I thought I would just show that. But in other words, the meeting, looking here, the Forest Service. I was just going to mention that it seems as if the Forest Service has had a similar product for what I believe to be quite a number of years. I kind of lost track of it over the years. I was working with folks from the Forest Service a few years back, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't want to speak on something that may or may not be true anymore. But thank you for putting that up there, that the Forest Service was leading the way on that one. I remember a few years back using that product, that being able to produce that way, and I thought that was great. Now I see it says here for over a decade, so I'm aging myself. I thought that was a few years ago. It was a decade ago, and so there we go. Just that much closer to retirement, as you can see here, with
That's great.
me forgetting how many years ago I was working on something. So, the meeting, once again, I think went very well. Obviously, with it being virtual, we try not to PowerPoint and speak you to death and try to do a shortened version, as Scott had mentioned, and I have for the last couple of years. Next year, let's see if we can get this in person, and not only have some of the commercial speakers, but also some of the government folks showing off what they're doing out there. So in the next 6 to 8 months, if you think you have something brewing at your shop with geospatial PDFs, GeoPDFs, whatever you wanted to talk about, let me know, and we'll carve out a spot on the agenda. If we're in person next year, we'll have a whole extra half day to play with. We've been doing it at the USGS facility out in Reston for the last few years. It's a nice facility, relatively easy to get to. It's cheap because it doesn't cost anything. Scott had mentioned the USGIF facility that they built there, which is a beautiful location. We'll figure out where, how, when, what, but certainly mark on your calendar. I believe 12 months from now, or the Wednesday 12 months from now, is August 2nd. That's probably the date we'll shoot for. So if you want to just tentatively mark up Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023, that'd be a good thing there. I don't really have much more to say. If anybody has anything that they want to talk about or bring up or whatever it is, typically if we're in person, we'll remove the commercial folks, just keep the government folks in. Some people from the government don't like to talk about certain issues in front of the non-government folks, but as Scott can attest to, and Patrick Graves can really attest to it, if I'm one of those guys where if it's not quite what I'm thinking of, I will certainly let you know. Patrick has a wonderful story about how he spent quite a bit of time developing something when he was with Terrigo, and was proud and smiling and so happy to show me. And my first reaction was, it's crap. And Patrick wasn't overly thrilled with me, but in a very short period of time, he understood what I meant, and we ended up getting exactly what we wanted. And Patrick was able to pull that one off. So if anyone has anything that they want to talk about or throw it into the chat, please, I guess I'd have to throw it in the chat because all the mics are muted there. Otherwise, we can wrap up, and like I said, note on your calendar, August 2nd, 2023. I'll work with Scott to get a web link out to folks for the recording, the slides. I'll try to put some notes together. I'll work with Madison to get a list of those people who registered, and then those people who actually came into the meeting, and send the contact information for those that were in the meeting to everybody who was in the meeting, and we'll go from there. And like I said, Scott, I don't have much more. If any of the other speakers have anything that they want to talk about, or they realized after they finished speaking they had something more to say, we're open here. Otherwise, we'll start wrapping up and give people back their day to do with it what they may.
Just a quick thank you to Anthony for filling in and Ted and Avenza for helping with all the registration links, helping us get the word out. Thanks.
No problem.
Obviously.
Thanks for that, Scott.
Yep, no worries. Thank you, Patrick, for participating again. John, great presentation. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's all I have on this. And thank you to Matt.
All right. I don't see much popping up in the chat room. Obviously, my contact information is in lots of places. The speakers handed out their contact information. Everybody knows how to get a hold of Scott, and we'll kind of leave it at that. And like I said, if nothing else there, I appreciate everybody who participated in the meeting by speaking, those who participated in the meeting by viewing, and everybody be safe out there. And hopefully next year we're all in person somewhere having this meeting and getting back to a little bit of more of a normalcy there. So Scott, I'm ready to wrap it up if you are.
I'm ready, Ray. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thanks again, Madison, for helping with the logistics, and everybody for attending. And we will talk again soon. Hopefully, we'll see you.
Scott, is there any way to shut down everybody but the presenters? And if those who spoke want to leave, I just want to chat with you and Madison for a minute or two or three. But if the speakers want to stay on, that's great.
Yeah, we can go ahead and close it up, I believe.
If not, no big deal.
The recording.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.